All academics communicate between themselves when they publish their research papers or speak at conferences, for example. However, communicating with the general public is becoming increasingly important. Last year we set out to discover more of that talent, sometimes hidden away here at the OU, with some spectacular results. A key innovation has been our strategic collaboration with theconversation.com, a website which combines academic expertise with the current news agenda. Over 80 OU academics have already written and published articles on the website.
As a sport and fitness team, before some of the big sports events this year, we thought about making academic writing a bit more accessible to people. So we thought about doing a sport and fitness blog. And this in turn led to some work with The Conversation. And I particularly wrote some pieces related to the Winter Olympics, Wimbledon, and actually the Football World Cup as well. And I was very fortunate that it got republished by the Washington Post, which was great.
I started with The Conversation just doing an article on something where my research really connected with a story that was in the news. And I was very impressed with the results from that because it really has reach, gets to people that you'd otherwise have no chance of getting to. I've done a total of 3 stories now for The Conversation, and each one I've actually got more hits than the previous one. I think that's partly because you're working with people who really understand how to do this. They get the level right. The editors are extremely easy to deal with and firm where they should be firm. They make the story work for the audiences they've got.
I certainly think that as an academic it's very important that we try to engage with the wider public and we really try to promote the research on a global basis and in a participatory way so that people can contribute as well. And The Conversation is really a wonderful platform to allow you to do that.
Well, one, I'm very fortunate. The field I work in, network engineering and network security, there's lots of subjects to cover. Also, fitting it into my workload, writing an article for The Conversation isn't difficult, and I can fit it into the short spare time I have when a new subject comes out and one has to write about it quickly.
Articles written by Andrew Smith and others have reached a massive audience of more than 1.7 million readers all over the world. But it's not just the Open University's overall reputation that benefits from this, it's the individuals as well. ResearchGate.net, a leading website which allocates academic reputation scores to researchers, recorded a 20% increase in the reputation of one MCT academic, following publication of his first article for The Conversation.
Before this March article, my score there was 15, which I suppose accumulated over 10 years for my research reputation. But after that, just 1 week later, my number bumped up to 18.5. I remember that precisely. So I was so surprised. It certainly gets so much uptake in the research.
I have found my blog has increased its reach. I've found that my research papers are getting a higher hit count, and I'm finding on social media that I'm gaining a greater presence as well as recognition amongst my colleagues for some of the work that I've done.
That's been good for me, but also it's been really good for our department. For when we're getting prospective students, our names are out there. The OU sports department is more visible to people now. So I think it's kind of worked in 2 ways.
Well, I was surprised that people from different countries can get in touch and ask you specific queries in relation to the UK curriculum or to the UK situation.
Right now I'm focusing on writing paper. At the same time, I'm thinking how it will be relevant to the public and to the public interest. It helps me with writing my project proposal as well. My background summary description of the project is more engaging with the public.
Okay, my mum. The mother factor. She is impressed that I managed to get into the New Statesman. Also my son, he's a young man. There's a well-known Facebook site called IFL Science, and the fact that it turned up on his feed and he could share it with all his friends and colleagues.
I've done quite a lot of radio and TV work before, and I've always enjoyed that. I like reaching bigger audiences with my research. But The Conversation's different because you can set the agenda. You're not in someone else's programme where they've got a clear image of what they want and what they want to use you for. You can actually decide what your story is and then work with the conversation editors to make it even more tight as a story. This gives me unbelievable reach. I mean, I've had 23,000 hits so far. I had 12,000 hits overnight with one story. People would never read my research findings at that level without the conversation.